And we're back at it again with another live one for all you Viconics Wrestling YouTube fanatics out there. And welcome to another exciting episode of Los Chicos Gordos, your one stop shop for your weekly NXT reviews. I am one of your hosts for this amazing time, Mikey, and joined with me always is my co host, Will. Will, I'm so happy to have you again, my friend. How are we doing?
Good. Doing well. Doing very, very good. Excited to talk about this episode.
Yes, I'm also very excited. We talked a little bit off camera, but there was a lot of things. Both of us will probably say some things tonight. There's a lot of fun stuff. There's a lot of things that I also have some questions on. And then obviously there was one oversight that they needed to correct due to something that happened last week, which we'll get into as soon as we bit. This was an interesting go. So, if you are not aware, listeners, watchers, if you're putting us on in the background, we appreciate it anyways. This was the go home show for NXT right before their No Mercy pay per view, which is this Saturday, September 30th. Um, Again, this was an interesting go home show, and I'm excited to jump into it because there was a lot of good things. There's a lot of and
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of facepalm moments. But let's probably talk about the biggest facepalm that we had to is the fact that so if anybody has been not paying attention to the wrestling world within the last week or so, there was some WWE releases that happened last week on both the main roster and NXT. And unfortunately, while we here at the Biconics never put one individual over another because anybody losing their job is horrible, one particular person that got released in NXT this past week, it kind of really made me upset due to the fact that it messed up a storyline. We're not that far in yet, so I can't be dropping curse words, but stay tuned for those. Mustafa Ali is no longer working for WWE,
Nope.
and it sucks because he's a great talent, but more importantly, just from a consistency thing, he was literally so scheduled to be in a pay per view match for the NXT North American Championship this Saturday, and then he gets released like less than a week ago, right before the pay per view is about to happen. So tonight, they the NXT crew had to figure out a way to be like, all right, Mustafa Ali's not here. We're not going to address it on the air, so we got to find a new number one contender. So I feel like, obviously, I do feel like plans got rearranged. I think storylines got jump started like quicker than they should have.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But before we get in, Will, I know you're just coming back into wrestling and you have been with me for the last month and a half or so. So you've seen this storyline being built with Mustafa Ali going into No Mercy facing Dominic, and then at the drop of the hat, he's no longer there. And then we had what happened tonight to kind of remedy that. So, what are your thoughts, feelings, just overall opinions of the whole matter?
Well, last episode, we had that moment with Ali when he was all like, wait a minute, I thought I was supposed to be doing this. And then suddenly he was like gone. And I was like, okay. If that was supposed to be a foreshadowing moment in last episode, that was kind of crappy for the boss man. I was like, that. Oh man, because I thought when I was watching this today, I was like, wait a minute. Last episode, they had that Ali interview where they were talking about. It was supposed to be. I think Dragon Lee was going to be facing him. And then he's all like, wait a minute, I thought I was supposed to be doing that. And then Dragon Lee came in and it was like, did they just make him do his own foreshadowing of him leaving? I mean, I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, that is like brutal if that's what that was. And then we get into this episode and it's like, okay, so how are we going to and overall, I really felt that this episode was a glaze over. Like, we're going to touch on it and then we're going to show you all this other stuff to get your mind off of what happened. And I was just like, okay, well, they didn't really fix anything. I mean, I guess it kind of did, but it didn't fix anything. Like, I mean, storyline wise, I mean, obviously that storyline is dead. I mean, it's dead. It was just ended. No resolution. We'll probably never get resolution to it. Um, so instead, they're like, well, let's kickstart a new one in the episode before the pay per view. And it kind of felt shoved in there, like, oh, here, we need to shove this extra page into the book that wasn't in the book originally, but we want it in there, so we're just going to shove it in there anywhere. So it kind of felt like that. It really did. Kind of had that, you know, playing, what is the game? The shuffling game, like the shuffle game, I guess. That's what it felt like. I mean, it really felt like that. It was like, wait a minute, are we literally just gonna like just whistle and pretend that it didn't happen? Which is exactly what they did. I mean, honestly, it was just like, oh, okay, something new, which we'll talk about when we get there. But I was just like, what the hell?
Yeah, WWE has not had a great history when people get released and they on television, they don't talk about it. They act like it never happened. And of course, I personally believe I don't think that because it's always happens like this too. It's higher ups and management that ends up making these final decisions because poor NXT man, like throughout its history between what it is now and even when it was the black and gold era, as we used to call it, all the time releases, then main roster would like take a whole bunch of people on, like call them up to the main roster. Some even in the midst of storyline. This one sucked because literally we've been building this match up for a month and a half, and then literally not like less than a week to go for the match. It's like, oh, no, okay, well, oh, he's gone. I was like, I don't want to be petty, but I'm going to get on my petty
Uh-huh.
box a little bit. You couldn't have waited until after the pay per view,
Yeah.
let him go out like in one more match in the company, and then he can go. I was just like, oh my.
Yeah. Let him go out in like a blaze of glory or something. But I was just like, damn.
Yeah, that one. And then I was kind of annoyed with Dana Brooks' release because I'm like, we were just getting into this storyline with her going nuts. Her and Kaylani. So poor Kaylani is like probably going until they find something for her to do. I'm
Yeah.
sure we'll see her in the women's tournament starting next week, but I was like, damn.
Yeah. It's a huge wrench in the works.
Yeah, and NXT did their best to try to remedy that this week on this episode, but I could still feel it. I was just
Yeah.
like the void is still there because we've been following this build for a month and a half, and then literally 11th hour you pull Ali's gone, so now you
Yeah.
have to figure out what we're gonna do.
And it felt a little cheap, actually. The way they did it felt really cheap. And not just for Ali and his legacy, but like for the people involved. It just felt, I don't know. It was a little lame on their part. I think not the wrestlers' part, the company's part. It was just, yeah. It felt petty and I'm just not petty. Sorry, petty is the wrong word. It just felt forced
Hmm.
because you're right. They were struggling. They're like, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap. We did this thing. How do we move forward? Oh, I know. Let's do something else, but kind of similar. And flashy, flash, 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 flash. And it's like, oh, they if we keep flashing all this cool stuff at them, they won't remember that guy anymore. And it's like, dude,
We wrestling fans never forget.
no. It's just like, dude, you literally come on. You're right. They should have waited till after the pay per view and then released people. That was
Yeah,
dumb. That was dumb on their part.
it was, but we here at the Biconics will continue to review everything, even
Mm-hmm.
when questionable things happen. But we've now that we have addressed that, let's get into the actual episode so we can talk more about how they try to remedy the
Yeah,
situation.
God.
So immediately NXT opens up this week. We just jump straight into, all right, let's get this go home stuff ready to go. So we immediately jump into a match that opens up NXT, and this is the Global Heritage Invitational Finals, which sees Butch versus Joe Coffey. Winner is going to move on to No Mercy to face Noam Dar. First and foremost, Noam Dar and his posse, a metaphor. Their lounge was now like a Kentucky Derby with the big old dresses and the hats. My
Yeah,
only
no.
critique is I wanted the hats to be ridiculously bigger.
Yeah, me too, actually.
I was like, this Kentucky Derby, like I'm a West Coaster. I live on the West Coast, but even I know when you go to the Derby in the South, you need to wear the most
This hat's
ridiculous
huge.
hats.
And they're huge. Yeah, I agree.
But I got a chuckle out of it. I was just like,
Yeah,
please keep doing this every single week.
I know.
Come up, like go to Party City, find something, and just go
Something.
for it.
I agree. I agree.
Like be astronauts, be mermaids, like try not to get copyrighted, but everyone should wear pink for Mean Girls or Barbie.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you. Yeah, it'd
So
be fun.
it it's so great. This match also kind of ruled.
It did. It did. I really liked this match. I wish it hadn't opened this episode.
Right.
I wish this had happened a little later. But yeah, this match was pretty damn awesome. I was for sure. And I sent you a text. I think I was like, I both love and hate this match
It's
because I
like I
really
love it.
like both of these guys. I like Butch and I like Joe Coffey. And I really like them both. And I
Yes.
think they're great fighters. And I'm just like, God, I hate that they're fighting each other because one of them's going to have to lose. And I was just like, I don't want either of them to lose. Can they just both go? Can't we just say it's a three? It's like a 3-on-3, a 3-man. Come on, that's something. I don't know. Yeah, it was a fantastic fight. It was fantastic. Butch
Of
is
course,
just so great. I just love his whole. I've really grown to like him a lot, and I just like his whole everything, and just his persona. The persona is so great, and I love I like how sportsman he is. I really like that. I really like that a lot. It was that last episode. I think he went
with
against
him and Tyler, yeah.
Tyler, yeah. And I was just like, see that right there. Okay, now I'm a big fan. I'm a huge fan now. But yeah, when this was happening, I was like, no, do they have to fight each other? Okay,
There can only be one winner.
I know.
Unless you're Tony D'Angelo and Stacks, and then you decide how many participants you want. We'll
right.
talk about that because I was not. Listen, I was expecting the titles to be defended. I wasn't expecting what we're getting, and we'll talk about that as we go on with the
Mm-hmm.
episode. One of my favorite. I always love when Butch just like is the straight man and everything. Like when Mark Coffey and Wolfgang get thrown out and sent to the back. Literally,
Oh
the
yeah.
camera just looks at Butch, and Butch just like shrugs his
Yeah,
shoulders.
he's like, we doing this? It was
Okay.
great. Yeah, no, he was very much
Shrugs
like.
his shoulders and then goes back to whooping on Joe Coffey.
I love that he just sort of stood in the middle of the ring and he just sort of looked around, like,
Okay.
so are we gonna keep going? Are we fighting still? What's going on? I mean, it was great.
And then of course, Butch throws in, the joint manipulation, the breaking of the
uh-huh.
fingers.
Yeah.
Joe Coffey was flying left and right this match, more so than I normally see him. And I like that
Mm-hmm.
if this felt desperate, because Joe's like, I'm about to win this. And of course, fortunately and unfortunately, I never really truly know because I'm with you in the sense that I really like both of them. I'm kind of sad that one of them had to lose, but
Yeah.
ultimately, Butch gets the victory here. So we officially get our NXT Heritage Cup match at No Mercy. It's going to be Noam Dar defending the cup against Butch at No Mercy this Saturday. I'm really excited for this match.
Me too. Oh my gosh. You could see Dar was like worried.
He's like, oh, snaps.
Yep. That's gonna be a good match. Damn well better be a good match anyway.
It is.
It better not be no like, here's your 5-minute match. I'm gonna be so pissed.
Well, I'm also excited too because I think yeah, the Heritage Cup. We're gonna get the Heritage Cup rules at No Mercy. So the short rounds, 5 rounds, 2 out of 3, base two first to 2 pinfalls wins. I think it's gonna be a great match, and I agree with you. I hope that we get all 5 rounds and both of them just go in killing each other. Um, I'm excited. It's gonna be great. So then we get our first kind of nod acknowledgement, but not really, to the whole situation with Mustafa Ali. So we get a backstage interview with Dominic Mysterio, and Dominic's just like, "Yeah, I'm gonna be able to watch No Mercy on the couch at home. I'm gonna watch it with mommy, and then we got we're gonna be good." And then I love that just in all the seriousness. I'm like, Dominic, did you not check the social medias before the show start? Um, there's gonna be a triple threat. Well, okay, at this point of the night, it was like there's gonna be a triple threat to determine who the number one contender is to face you at No Mercy. And then Dominic's just like, but, and then he literally leaves. He's all upset and he storms off with the interview. I was just like, now I saw it here, but then apparently somebody put some makeup on him when we saw Dominic later in the evening. I was like, oh, that's a nasty little shiner that you got from your match against Dragon Lee on Monday Night Raw, which, by the way, was a fantastic match. And I was shocked that Dominic won clean with no help. I was like, oh, it's crazy.
Oh,
But
I
yet,
know.
Dominic
It's so
running a
funny.
tantrum here.
It was so yeah. He walked up in that interview, and I was like, "Ooh, nice shiner, buddy boy." And then I loved when she was just like, "Oh yeah, this, that, and it." He's like, "I'm sorry." He's like, "What?" I was like, "No, somebody didn't tell you what was going on, did they?" It's like, so
Surprise!
he scurried out of there so fast. Oh my god, it was so funny. And just the look on his face was hilarious. I mean,
Right,
just
and so
hilarious.
we technically find out where he went when we get him again later in the evening because he went to go talk to Shawn Michael. Also, we'll talk about Shawn Michaels because I'm like, the ending of tonight's
Yeah,
episode, I
that
was
was
like, that is
funny.
not an office. Don't lie to me.
I know. I was the same way. I was like,
That
what?
is
Yeah,
because I'm like, if that's an actual office wall, somebody needs to be fired.
seriously.
I was like, this is not up to code.
And yeah, not at all. And I also vomited a little bit when he said him, mommy, and chicken nuggies.
I
I
was
was
like, how
like,
dare you disgrace chicken nuggies?
I was literally like, I think I'm going to throw up. I was like, me, mommy, and chicken nuggies. I was like, ugh.
Don't disrespect the dino nuggies, the chicken
Uh,
nuggies.
yeah,
Now, I would have been more offended if you said, I'm gonna eat some dino nuggies. I'm like, don't you disgrace the most sacred chicken nuggets out there.
I know, right? Don't you do that. Don't you go there.
Don't you go there. Dino nuggies are the most sacred thing on this planet. And then the one thing that every person, every creed, race, orientation, like this, the one thing we all agree on: chicken nuggies rule, but dino nuggies rule even harder. I was a listen as a foodie and a fat and literally the name of our show as a Chico Gordo. Don't disrespect the nuggies.
That's right. Don't do it. You get an ass whooping.
Yeah. So speaking of ass whoopings, I wasn't sure what was going down. So again,
Hey,
WWE and NXT does this thing where we get part of an entrance, then we come back from commercial break, and then we get a segment, and then jump into the other person's entrance. So I kind of just put everything the way it's supposed to. So we get part one of the family dinner with Tony D'Angelo and Stacks at the restaurant, and so they're literally like, "All right, we're gonna talk to like our prospects and figure out which one of these teams we're gonna face at No Mercy." So the first team to walk in is, of course, the Latinos. I was like, yes, thank you. Los Lotarios, so Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo. They're- I love that Tony's poking fun of like the tiger marks on their chest.
oh my
It,
god.
it was such this was such an interesting dynamic because Umberto is like being very calm and collective, and Angel's like ready to fight with everybody. I kind of
Uh-huh.
dug it. He's like, "Hey, you disrespecting our abuelo?"
Yeah, I
and
was like,
and Umberto was just looking at him, was like, "Bro, you need to calm down."
no, I'm disrespecting those stick-on tattoos you got. I was like, they were like, do you see the gloss on them? They were so glossy. I was
I
like,
was like, I was like, makeup technician,
I
We
saw
need we need
edges.
to fit. We need to. I saw the edges of
I
the
saw
tat.
edges.
I was like, bro. But I
It
thought
was
this
just
was
so funny
yeah.
though.
I was just like, again, NXT. I will say, as silly as they are, and as sometimes we catch their mistakes, I enjoy the silliness and like the
I love it.
DIY ness of it.
I love it. I mean, the whole restaurant thing, and this is again a thing that I've always said about NXT. They are so good with continuity that literally this story goes through the whole episode, and they don't just knock it out real quick. It's literally it just goes and goes, and you're just like, oh God, who's going to come to the dinner table next? Who's coming to the dinner table next? Who's coming to the dinner table? Are they going to have enough room in this place for all these people? It's like,
And they even say that at one point. And it's just like, is there enough chairs at this table?
yeah, is there enough chairs?
I
So
love it.
funny.
DIY, but yeah, so we get two more parts later, but Los Lotharios are the first team into contention. And then, of course, the D'Angelo family's just like, hey, take a load off, eat some food. Like, I was like, what a great host, you guys.
Mhm.
Like, that's how we do it. You're meeting with people. Here's all the food. It's time to eat.
Of course, I have to say that it was a little rude to have the belts on the table because my grandmother would have been like, "You better get that off the table."
Seriously.
And I can imagine that they're Italian and Uncle whoever was cooking would have been okay with the belts on the table. Just saying.
Yep.
Just saying.
For reals. So, okay, so this next match, this is where, in my opinion, I feel like this is where things kind of got switched around in response to what ended up happening. Because I feel like this match should have at least went 5 minutes. This match only went like 2.5. So Trick Williams versus Joe Gacy. Also, I love the fact that everybody's already behind Trick's new theme song, just like whoop that Trick.
Yeah.
Whoop. And Booker T's getting into it too. I was like, yes, I loved it. Yeah, this was a really short match. Trick Williams versus Joe Gacy. And Joe and Ava are now the only two members of Schism left since, in real life, the Dyad got, their contracts are done with WWE and NXT, so they left the company. They didn't get released with everybody, but I had to take a second look because the black light didn't do any favors. I'm like, is Joe not wearing any pants? So it's like, oh, well, I mean, he's gonna wrestle, but the black light didn't help. I was like, oh God, is he wearing anything at all? Oh no, never mind.
Yeah.
Listen, as a big guy myself, as a plus size
I
man,
get you.
like I want to preface by saying we're not here to body shame, but Joe Gacy, we need to figure something else to wear in terms of like our wrestling shorts, because they seemed a little ill-fitting. I'm like, "Sarah, you look like you're wearing a diaper and them cheeks are about to fall out." Just saying.
It was not flattering at all. And I mean,
It makes me
you can
sad.
be a big boy and wear flattering stuff. That was not flattering. Because even I was kind of like, dude, I think you're gonna pop out of that thing.
I was like,
Like,
we're about to have a Blur moment on
yeah, we're
national
about to have
television.
a wardrobe malfunction.
Janet Jackson all over again, just
Mm-hmm.
downstairs.
Exactly. I was just like, ooh, ooh. I knew when he got in the ring, I was like, oh no, who dressed you, dude? Because they dressed you wrong. I'm like, no,
I was,
ma'am.
yeah, I was just like, I would like to see him wear like, okay, so like this is how nerdy I'm going to get. So I was a water polo player in high school, right? And so the two types of gear we could wear is like the traditional speedos, which I didn't because it's weird, or the other ones is like the speedo jammers, which are like the shorts, like biker shorts, kind of. Now Joe Gacy wanted to wear some sort of wrestling jammers, like the shorts that still keep everything snug and tight. Then I will be here for it. But let's get rid of the diaper. But again, this match was short. I guess it did what it needed to, but I feel like this match would have gone on a little bit longer. But we had last minute we had to build what we were gonna get later in the evening. So Trick Williams pulls out a victory here, which I'm kind of bummed. I was like, oh, okay, I guess this feud's done now. Oh, that's unfortunate. I wanted this to go on for a little bit and Trick have to fight Gacy. Be like, no, I am better than what you're telling me, bro.
You know, I wrote down in my notes, I was like, it was a good match, but this truly did feel like a complete setup. Like I was like, okay, okay, I know where we're going now. I got it. Okay. So the minute this match happened and as fast as it happened, I was like, this is a setup match. We're setting this up so we can get Trick Williams into the running for things and get him all like in his head and blah 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 blah. And because I was like, good match, but felt like a setup. And then immediately I was like, yep, there it is.
Because he cuts. So after the match, like the schism just like frig off backstage. Like all of a sudden they're nowhere to be found. And then Trick gives this promo that basically says, he's hyping up his friend Carmelo. Trick, we need to have a chat by the end of this episode of NXT because, sir, I know you've been rocking with Mello since day one, but sir, I need you to open your eyes because
Mm-hmm.
he was so dismissive, and we'll talk about that when we get to it. But Trick, you deserve better. But I love that Trick is now starting to have a realization, and we see a little bit of a character development here because in this promo, he says, "You know what? Mello has gold, so now it's time for me to go after my own." Because he's starting to think, he's like, "Hold up, like." I've been at Carmelo's side this whole time, and I haven't done anything here for me. So I gotta do. Literally, this promo was I gotta go and do me is what exactly he did. So we'll get to that because he does something, and I was like, I'm proud of you, Trick. I was like, you gotta
Yep,
look
me
after
too.
yourself. I was proud of him.
Mm-hmm.
So after this, we get a backstage interview with Blair Davenport. She literally says, "It's like, listen, Gigi made a mistake. She blindsided me, but she made the mistake of because I got back up, and literally it's like, you don't want me to get back up." And I was
Girl.
like, "Don't." I
Mm-hmm.
was like, "Don't hurt me, Blair. Take all my lunch money."
Mm-hmm. Girl is getting real. I was like, ooh, uh-oh.
Blair is not to be messed with.
Yeah, oh yeah, and we'll
And
see
we'll
that.
we'll see. We'll get. I love. Literally, this whole episode is NXT. It's like, oh, we'll see, and we literally see. It's
We
like that
literally
was
see.
insane.
Oh
So
god.
after this, we probably get one of my favorite setup segments. So Andre Chase and Duke Hudson, Chase U, they're walking through. They're talking. There's like Thea actually texting me back. Like she gave me a thumbs up emoji. I think we're making progress. And then JC comes in. She's like, they're like, have you seen Thea? And she's like, yeah. Um, well, here she is now. And then she walks out in her new outfit. I was just like, yes, Thea. Yes.
I love it. I was like, yes.
I
I was
literally
like,
I proceeded to do the
uh-huh.
snaps and then the finger wave. I was like,
Yep.
well, actually, no, I did the snaps here. The finger wave and the yas yelling came out when she came out for her match, which we'll get into
Yes.
because
Oh
I was like,
yeah. She got a double yas for me on that one.
and
But
as
yeah,
soon as Thea's like, I'm a grown ass woman. I feel great. I got to get ready for my match. Bye, boys. I love that Chase Hughes thing is they bleep out the curse word because as soon as Thea is like coming from off camera onto frame, Duke Hunt is like, holy bleep.
yep. It was so funny. That was so funny. I was like, all right. I was like,
Yeah.
all right, Thea.
And then as Thea leaves, the boys are like, what was that? And JC's like, if you thought that was great, wait till you see her new ring outfit. Bye, boys. And then
Yep.
she leaves.
Bye. I
The
was like,
boys are like, what just happened? Andre Chase literally is just like, what just happened?
oh my god, it was so funny. That
But
was such a fun moment.
I love Andre Chase. I really do. He's like the straight best friend, and like Thea Hale just discovered lesbianism for the first time.
Hmm.
And he's like, I don't know how to feel about this.
Yep. Oh my
Gosh,
god.
this is like one of my favorite continuing stories right
Oh, it's one
now.
of my absolute favorites. I love this one, and I'm really
Oh my gosh,
hoping.
I can't wait to talk about the ending of Thea's match because literally the
Yes.
camera people were on point on this. I was like, good job, camera people. You
Yep.
did your job in this part. It was great.
Yep.
And then I kind of I tuned out a little bit because next we got Baron Corbin taking on poor Josh Briggs, man. He never stood a chance in this. I knew
No,
he
he
was
didn't.
losing
Yeah, me
since
too.
the encounter from last week's episode. I was like, oh, my poor big country himbo, you're losing.
I know. All I says is Briggs is so hot.
I mean, you are not wrong. I'm like, first of all, you're a very tall dude. Second of
Uh-huh.
all, I'm gonna climb all over that. And I was just
Mm-hmm.
like, and you make redneck country look great.
Yeah, he does.
Wrestling literally in like Wrangler jeans and wearing a vest.
Yep. And boots. I'm like, oh my goodness. Oh my. Oh my. I was like, oh, but yeah, you're right. I knew that he wasn't going to stand a chance in this match. I knew it. Unfortunately, my heart of hearts wanted him to because you know me, and I do not make my feelings for Baron Corbin. I do not make them sugarcoated. I hate that guy, and I literally anytime he fights somebody, I want them to kick his ass, like truly, because I cannot stand him. And then he beat him, and he beat Briggs, and I was just like, I hate you so much, even more now. I hate you.
And then it probably intensified because he cuts like this 30-second promo before. And now this is the rage room with Will. Go off, sis.
God. Okay. I was watching this and I was like, okay. And in the back of my brain, I was like, he's gonna talk something. I know he is. He's gonna talk, and it's gonna annoy me and probably everybody else. And so the match happened. They they declare him the winner. Blah blah blah. And all of a sudden, I see this, and I was like, oh, fuck. Here we go. So they give him the damn mic. I wish people would stop giving him the mic. Literally stop giving him the mic. Brings the mic up, opens his mouth, and immediately I'm just like, can I fast forward this? Because anything that's going to come out of his mouth, I don't care about. It's going to have no relevance to anything, or it's going to be so specific that it could have been done in a backstage interview or something like that. Why is he out in front of everybody on the damn? Don't give him the damn mic anymore. Stop it. Let him do his shit backstage. Stop taking up valuable ring time by letting him run his mouth. And then and then of course he brings up, Braun Breaker, and I was like, oh God, here we go. I was waiting. I was like, when's Braun going to come out? Oh, here he comes. Okay.
Thankfully, there was not a promo segment because Braun literally just jumps Baron and they
Yes.
start fighting in the ring. I was like,
Which is where it got
all
better.
right, I'm okay with this. Like,
That's when it got better. I was like,
I was like, you go, Braun. And I was literally the whole night I was cheering for Braun. I was like, yes, yes, Braun. I was just like, beat his ass.
I literally wrote in my notes, Corbin, shut up. And then right below it, I wrote, Braun slam stairs into his head.
Oh my God.
Literally, I was like, could you please? Because I literally want him to shut up. I
So
literally want
why
him
is this? Why is there no stipulation for their match at No Mercy? I don't understand.
I don't either.
Literally, you would think that them brawling throughout the whole entire show would set up like either a street fight, last man
Yeah.
standing, like what anything goes. I
Yeah,
was
an
like, well, I
extreme
guess
something.
I was like, well, I guess because the women have the Extreme Rules match, you can't have too many of
No,
them
that's
on the
true. I guess
card.
that's true.
But even still, I was just like, ugh,
But put him in something else. Put him in a cage match or put him in,
seriously.
something.
It's literally called No Mercy, you guys.
Yeah. I'm just like, this is the perfect duo for that. Obviously, because what we see later on, but this is the perfect duo. Put them in something where it is life threatening.
Seriously. Oh my goodness. So after this, the brawl happens. They're trying.
They're trying to break it up.
They're trying to break it up, but we so we this segment ends and we go to commercial, and when we come back, we see Trick Williams going to Shawn Michaels' office saying, "Hey, you got a minute?" And Shawn's like, "Come in." So they talk. I was like, "You go, Trick." I was just like, "I think I know where this is going." But you know
Yeah,
what?
I knew.
Good on you, Trick, for going to talk to the boss man. And then So, okay, at first, I was a little perturbed. I was like, "Ugh, we don't even get live promos from Tiffany and Becky. We get a video package
No, we
setting
get a
it
video
up."
pack. Yeah,
And I was like, "Ugh, fine." And then I was like, you know what? This video package is actually pretty decent.
it was.
I
It
was
was
like, it
decent.
gives me the reason why they're fighting. And I was like, you know what? I think I'm okay with these two not confronting each other before the pay per view because they're about to kill each other on Saturday in Extreme Rules, and I'm here for it. In
Yeah,
addition, just as a side note, I got to see Becky versus Tiffany when I went to the WWE show this past weekend. Barbie Quinn in all her glory. It was beautiful to see
I'm,
NXT representation, and
I'm
also I
jealous.
feel like I was the only one cheering for both Becky and Tiffany because I'm like, I looked around and was like, "Oh, you poor people, you don't know who Tiffany is. That's okay. I
That's
know
all
most
right.
of you only watch the main roster, but y'all should watch NXT."
Yep.
But it was
I
great.
was
But
so
anyways,
jealous. I was so jealous when you posted that. I was like, no.
I know I texted Will, I was just like, "Our girl is Becky. The
I
girls are fighting.
was like, oh
Becky and
man,
Tiffany are out here fighting."
man, I'm excited for that match.
Oh, I can't wait. I was just like, if this is a tease of what we're getting on Saturday, I'm here for it. Because it was a good wrestling match. Now I'm excited to see how violent they get.
Exactly. Me too.
Listen,
An extreme match. Ooh,
Extreme
bring it
Rules,
on,
I'm
girls.
I'm hoping it's great. I'm excited. This is gonna be fun. So
Yeah.
after this vignette, we get I guess I wouldn't call it a number one contenders match, but it's for whoever gets the last spot at the table with the D'Angelo family. So we have literally the embodiment of your two himbo friends from high school in Tank and Hank.
I love those guys.
God, they're such himbos. I
They
love them so
are.
much. So Hank and Tank taking on, well, we have an official tag team name for Lucian Pierce and Bronco Nima, known as Out of the Mud, which I was like, okay, that's cool, I guess. Um, I was surprised because I was expecting, oh, okay, Out of the Mud is gonna decimate them. No, I Frank and Tank pretty much had the whole entire match until the ending distraction
Mm-hmm.
happened, and
Yep.
then Out of the Mud won. What was it? I think when Hank like did the power slam and literally did like the barbarian rage scream, I was just like, "Oh, you're now one of my favorites."
Yeah. Yeah, that was fun.
Again, this match served its purpose. Hank
Yeah.
Hank and Tank were about to win, and then a distraction from scripts and allowing Lucian Pierce to help get Bronco Nima out from what was about to be a spine buster, and then of course Out of the Mud pulls the victory. They talk smack to the camera, so we're gonna see them later. And then we hinted to this when we were talking about Blair, but the worst thing for any woman in that locker room to do is make sure Blair Davenport does not get back up. Why? Because Gigi Dolan is out here getting red. I was a little perturbed. I was like, oh, we're not getting this match tonight, are we? Okay, that's fine, I guess, as long as we get it at some point. No, Blair doesn't just attack Gigi. She goes full on like DEFCON 5. She cuts the power, and then the screen goes black. So at first I was like, is something wrong with my television screen?
I know, me too.
And then I hear the fight, and I'm like, oh no, wait, okay, so it's supposed to happen. Literally, I hear lockers banging, things getting thrown around. Literally, all I'm hearing is hands being thrown, and Gigi's getting her ass beat. Because not once did I hear Blair like
Uh-uh.
yell and scream like and Gigi's fighting back. The lights come back on, and Gigi's on the floor, and Blair's like, it's just like, told you, and then leaves. Man, I was like, damn, Blair literally just jumped Gigi in the
Yep.
dark. She took all her lunch money.
Yep.
She took her boyfriend. She stole the car keys. Like,
Everything.
in the 30-second time frame, she whooped Gigi's ass and then some.
I put one note for this when that was like, girl turned out the lights. I was like, uh-oh. That's all you gotta say. Girl turned out the lights. Bitch is gonna
Again,
get her
like,
ass beat.
yeah, she didn't just jump into frame and like they start
No.
fighting. She cut the power and then she pulled DEFCON 5 and beat her up in the dark.
Yep. And then turned the lights back on and was like, hey. I was like, oh my God.
And then I'll throw this here. So like Blair comes out during one of them before one of the matches starts, and then she cuts like this really heelish promo. It's like, oh, so sorry. our match with me and Gigi's match is not happening, but that's what she gets. I was like, damn, no remorse, Blair. You're my favorite right now.
Yeah, no, none whatsoever. She was like, oh
Oh
well.
well, that's what happens when you cross me. I
Uh-huh.
was like,
Oh my
damn, Blair
gosh.
don't play, and I'm here for.
Oh, we had that wonderful moment in the last session when at the end there when Gigi attacks
I
Blair.
know,
It's just like out of nowhere.
emotional whiplash. Like we're all sad because Wes is leaving, and then literally at the same breath, as soon as the door opens and he's leaving, we hear Gigi like jumping Blair,
Oh
and they
my
start
god.
fighting.
It just comes out of nowhere. It's just like these two women. Just like it's just sad. It's almost like, the Incredible Hulk walkaway music is playing, It's
Then
like
all of a
all of
sudden,
a sudden it's just like
the Mortal Kombat theme song starts
yeah.
playing.
And
Fight. Dun, 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 dun,
dun,
dun,
dun,
dun,
dun,
dun.
dun, 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 dun. Oh my god. It was so funny. And then this episode, Blair was just like, oh no, what you gave me, you're going to get 3,000 times over. It was like, damn.
I was like, I feel like Blair has had multiple practice rounds with this, and I'm just like,
Oh,
I was like,
man.
as soon as I see Blair, I'm like, here, just take my money. Like it's like I
Seriously, it's like, here she comes.
like it's like hands up, cash out.
Yep. I'm like, hey, I need you to do me a favor. Oh, okay. What is that? Well, Blair. Oh no, I'm done. I'm out.
Yeah,
I
it's
was like,
like,
nope,
nope, you're on your own. Sorry about
nope.
that. Love you, but
Sorry, bye.
we're good.
Yeah.
So I'm excited when we eventually get this match because I think it's gonna be good. I'm excited to see it. So after this, we get the second part to the family dinner, where this time we have the Creed brothers. God, Brutus is such a dweeb. I love him
I
so
love
much.
them though.
He's
I
like
love
I
them.
love the Creeds, but like Brutus, the bigger one, is one of my personal favorites in this whole entire saga
Mm-hmm.
of the family dinner because they're all being serious talking about tag team titles. He's like, bro, I just want to eat food.
Yeah,
Like
I
I'm like,
know.
I feel you
I
on that
love when
one.
he's all like, "Do you think they have any more of that chicken?" I was like,
And we can talk about it now, but later it's just like his brother is just like, man, I was like, I was enjoying this dinner. Like, this was better than mom's cooking. He's like, hey, bro, mom's cooking was actually pretty good too. I was like,
yeah,
what
it
is
was so
happening?
funny. It was so funny. Their whole commentary was fantastic. It was super funny. It was just everyone else is being all serious and like, Los Lotharios is like, yeah, we're gonna come in, we're gonna do this, and then everyone else is like, oh, all serious. And they're all like, hey, you got any more of that
And then
chicken?
Brutus is just like, yo, can I eat some more food?
It was so funny. And
And then
Joey's
of
is
course,
just like,
yeah,
dude,
I know it's just like we're here on business. It's like, but it's free food. I was
I'm
like, you know what?
hungry.
You're absolutely
You're
right. Well,
right. Mm-hmm.
listen, Brutus, if you ever watch this review, just know that Los Chicos Gordos come to the dinner table. We'll make sure you get
Yeah,
treated
we'll
right.
feed
We'll
you.
feed you, bud. Yes.
We will feed you.
The whole family dinner thing is so silly, but I loved it so
I
much.
love it. I loved every one of the segments. I loved them.
It's
It was
very
great.
camp, and that's what
Oh
I love in
yeah.
my wrestling. I love the campiness to it all.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. Again, so after this segment, we're backstage where we see Power Ranger wannabe Axiom. I love him. Listen, I love Axiom, but even he admits he's like, bro, I look like a bootleg Power Ranger. I'm like, you kind of do, and I'm here for it.
Yeah,
But we see
it was
Axiom
okay.
and we see Axiom and both me and Will's favorite little strong boy Tyler Bate
Aw,
talking about
kitty.
this triple threat. Listen, he literally is pocket-sized Hercules. It's ridiculous.
Yes. I mean, it's like put him right there in your back pocket.
Yes. Also, little strong boy Tyler Bate, call me. So these two are talking about the triple threat, and then our homeboy Trick Williams, which by the way, we'll talk about it during their match. I was just like, Trick Williams is the only one that's like over 5 feet at this point. Because everybody else is so tiny in that match, and then you have
Uh
Trick
huh.
who's hella tall. But
Like
Trick
a
comes in
giant.
and he lets Axiom and Tyler Bate know, be like, "Hey, you guys. So you know how it was how it was a triple threat before? Well, I talked to Shawn Michaels about me, wanting to get my, to dig deeper and to get at it. So now it's a fatal four way." I was like, "Oh, here we go."
And I liked it. He was all like, I wanted you to hear it
He
from me.
came and told them it's like, man to man,
Mm-hmm.
like wrestler to wrestler. I'm in this match, so we're good to go. And Axiom and Tyler Bate were actually kind of excited. They're like, "Oh,
Yeah.
let's go."
Like, oh,
I was
this is
like,
gonna be
y'all are some
good.
good sports.
Yep.
Now, the first 30 seconds of the match was a different story, but I was like, you know
Yeah.
what? I would kind of do the same thing because literally Trick Williams is out here and he just won a match. So I was just like, no. I was like, that
Mm-hmm.
listen, momentum is a make or break in any competitive sport because if somebody has momentum, it's like an untold superpower where it
Yep.
can bring people out of the crazy situations because
Yeah.
they've had strings of wins and the momentum keeps going.
Yep.
I loved it. So I want to take a moment
Yep.
because this match, this match got time, and even though I didn't get the warrior,
I did. Well, kind of. We kind of
kind
did.
of, it was like it wasn't explicit, but you know what? I
Yep.
love the touch that Eddie's family was there, and
Mm-hmm.
we actually got to see his dad. I was just like, oh, he is Native American. He's wearing
Uh-huh.
the outfit, and I'm here for it. But next up, we get the strap match between my man's Eddie Thorpe's and
Mm-hmm.
you know Dijak. Um, again, Eddie's entrance is one of my favorites right now with
Yep.
him doing his dance when he comes in. And the crowd is so behind him.
Yep. Oh
I loved it
yeah.
I think that's what was my favorite part of this whole match. The match itself was a lot of fun, but I love how much the crowd is
Yeah.
behind Eddie organically. It's not like forced or,
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
contrived. And
Absolutely.
this okay, so now for me personally, I've seen like 3 so this is the 3rd strap match I have seen literally in less than 3 weeks across all the wrestling. I was just like, "Damn, it's become a favorite right now." And while this one wasn't as violent, I really liked the storytelling between Dijak and Eddie because the styles were so different. Dijak was still being a little turd,
Yeah, it was.
in this match, and we'll talk about it in a little bit. But you sent me a message, and I had to rewatch the match. And as I was watching Dijak enter, I was just like, "Did Dijak lose a couple of pounds? Because his face looked a little more sunken
Gone.
in."
He looked gone. I was literally like, it's like, does he look frail to you?
I was like, "He doesn't look as big as he has been," and I was just like,
Mm-mm.
2 weeks ago when he was beating up the tree, like
He looked like jacked. Now he's all like,
he looks
I
very toned down. I was like, "What
yeah.
happened?" I was like, "Did you get sick? Did you go to Mexico and have a tapeworm snatching your body? Like, what is happening?" I caught Will off with that one.
That's
But
funny.
he looks so much more toned down than what I've known. And again, maybe it's just me, but I was just like, I don't remember you being like this like 2 weeks
No,
ago.
it's not just you because I literally sent you the message going, "Does he look frail?" It's like
Like the
I was.
face was sunken in a little bit. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. I was
Yeah,
like,
I
"Oh,
mean, I was a little concerned. Actually, I was a little like, "Does he look frail? Like,
I
does he?"
was worried." I was like, "Oh, I hope he's not." And then when he got into the match, I'm like, "Oh, never mind."
Yeah,
I was like, he literally wasted no time, started whooping Eddie's ass for a little bit.
yeah,
But
he did. It
again, the storytelling of this,
was so good.
honestly, and again, it seems like we're not done, which I'm kind of here for. But
Yeah,
the storytelling inside the match itself, I loved it because Dijak started and he was being a little turd still, thinking, being disrespectful to Eddie with the way he was hitting him with the strap. And then he awoke in something in Eddie because Eddie then just went full on these hands are rated E for everyone because my favorite part of this match is when he takes off his, portion of the strap, he takes it off his wrist, he folds it up and literally like Mexican parent with the belt like beats Dijak multiple times. And then even though it didn't land the way it was supposed to, but that strap slap across Dijak's face, I was like, "Oh my
oh my
god."
god, I know, me too. I was like, ooh,
Like, granted, it didn't hit all the way, but I was like, "Oh, I'm kinda glad it didn't because, ooh,
that could have
that
been oof.
ooh."
Well, it's so funny because I was watching. He was like smack, 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 and you could tell that Eddie realized that it was going to hit wrong. And when it went in, you saw him pull back on it. And I was like, oh,
He,
thank
like, course
God.
corrected a little bit.
I was like, thank God.
I was like, listen, we're out. I love Eddie. I appreciate you looking out for Dijak because
Ooh,
that's the way it's supposed to. But
yeah.
again, Dijak is in control for like the first half of this match, and then it's all Eddie from there because he whips him, and then he takes the belt. That there is a beautiful shot. If I when I pause my television of Dijak trying to grab for the belt, and Eddie just his foot on it, looking down
Hmm.
at Dijak. Dijak looks up, and Eddie's like, takes the belt and whips him with it too.
Yep.
And
I was
then of
like, there
course
you
Eddie's finisher is really fun. It's like literally a basketball trick shot where with the knees into Dijak for the win. Eddie celebrating. So and then of
go.
course when they go out into the on the ringside too, his poor little Eddie's poor little niece, man, she looked traumatized.
Poor thing. I know Dijak was like hounding them when there was over there when at the beginning of the match when he was like kicking Eddie's ass.
Baby girl was like having
Oh,
a
she
rough
was
go
all like,
watching
oh,
Uncle Eddie get his ass whooped.
oh my god, it was like, oh. And Dijak was. He was like yelling at him and everything. I was like, oh damn.
I was like, NXT right now is on a track record of like scarring little children. First, it was Blair's. No, first it was Roxanne's sister at Great American Bash during that like Weapons Wild match, and now it was Eddie's niece during this rap match. It was crazy. I am so happy that Eddie won. I thought now at this point I was just like, oh, this is a nice way to close the story for this feud. Like Eddie was triumphant. He beat Dijak and he, for being disrespectful to him and his culture. And then Dijak proceeded to still be disrespectful because then he beats up Eddie after the match. And then he literally ties him up with the strap on the edge of the apron, and then he whips him with the weighted belt. I was like, "Oh, we're not done with this feud. I'm actually kind of here for it."
Yep, me too. I was like, ooh, this is getting a little again like the promo when he was whipping the tree. It was starting to get a little. I started to get a little uncomfortable. I was like,
I know when Dijak tied him up and started hitting him
yeah,
with the
like
belt after the
literally
match, all of a
tied
sudden
him.
I yelled, "Reparations!" What?
I was like, strung him up is what he did.
Again. Now, I don't know if NXT had like if they knew that's what the vibes it was getting, but I was just like, again, I was like, you have a white man beating up on Native American. NXT, we cannot have the Trail of Tears part two. Like,
No,
absolutely not. And
no,
he again, they pan over to his niece who's also like about to
like,
cry because Eddie's
yeah.
getting beat up after the match.
Oh my god, it was traumatizing.
But you know what? This was a beautiful end to the first chapter of this feud. Eddie got what the win,
Hmm.
and now we're gonna continue this feud, and I'm actually kind of here for it.
I am so here for it. I can't wait to see where Eddie goes.
Again, if at some point between now and the end of the year, if Eddie comes out in full like
Oh my god.
headgear at some point, I'm actually gonna be like, I still think this is even though we didn't get something like that for this strap match, I will say this is probably still my favorite story in any
It
of the
is.
promotions that I'm watching right now for
Yeah.
this year. This has been one of my favorites.
Yeah.
It's been paced
Absolutely.
very well. There have been a lot of questionable moments and some racial undertones that we may or not be that made me uncomfortable. But I appreciate that NXT is actually doing a pretty decent job of not, you know, being overtly crazy.
Right. I
Like,
think they come right up to the line, and it's like, okay, don't cross that line.
right. So, Will, I talked a lot about this match. So, what were your thoughts of Eddie versus
I want to
Dijak?
know there at the end when Dijak like ambushed him after the win. Was Dijak's head bleeding?
You know, I thought the same thing. I don't think he got busted open too bad, but he may have like the strap may have like grazed it a little bit and
I
kind of
don't
like
know. It
made
was
it
because it
bubble.
was like his whole area up here was wet. I mean, it was wet, and he was like doing this, and I was like, "Is he bleeding?" Because I don't. And the reason I asked is I don't remember. And I went back and watched it again, and I was just like, "What happened?" I guess either the camera just didn't catch it or what. But I don't know what happened to cause that. I didn't see what caused it, but this match was so good. Oh, it was so good. Even though it didn't have all my hoopla that I wanted it to have, it was still good. And Eddie got his sort of not vengeance, but he got his sort of retribution. And of course, when he won, it's like a horror movie. You never turn your back on the bad guy, and he turned his back, and I
You
was like,
got to
this,
make sure you double tap it.
yeah, exactly. And I was like, this is not going to end well. And then here it comes, and I was like, damn. And then which I was grateful for, because I was like, this, because even when Eddie won the match, I was like, that can't be it. I was like, it can't end like that. There's got to be more to it than that. And then, of course, we got what we got. And I was like, oh, there it is. Okay. I was like, all right. So this rivalry is not done. And this is another one of those that this is something else. I really hope this one goes on for a while, because this one has the potential to really sort of shine, because there's so much, like, what's the word I'm looking for? There's so much possibility in this storyline for both of these characters, not just Eddie, but for Dijak as well. I mean, it's like I just want to see. I just want to see their evolution. I want to see these characters' evolutions, because right now they're great, and it's like, Eddie was beaten, and then Dijak basically crapped on his culture and his religion, and then Eddie's like, you know what? The gloves are off. I'm coming for you. And he did. And it was good. Yeah. And of course, Dijak had to decimate him at the beginning, which I knew is what was going to happen. And then, because they had to give, this is what I love about this stuff. It's the storytelling. It's like the whole first part of the match is just, Eddie comes in, he's confident, and he's like, yeah. And then Dijak just decimates him. And then he starts taunting his family, starts embarrassing him and, humiliating him. And then you see the switch happen. And then all of a sudden, Eddie's like, I've got the power in me. And suddenly the tables turned, and Eddie just whooped him. And then we get the win. And then, of course, Dijak, being the sore loser that he is, has to get in the final. He always has to get the final say, and he does. And then, of course, he whips him with the same belt that he whipped the tree with. And so I'm like, I think we're going to see that belt some more. Like, I really do. I think it's going to come into a couple of. I'm waiting. I can't wait to see what happens after No Mercy, because I know it's going to continue on after No Mercy. We're going to get something the next episode, and I'm excited about it.
Oh, absolutely. So hopefully when we watch No Mercy, because normally around this time, then we start preparing for Halloween Havoc. So I don't know if Halloween Havoc is going to be a TV special this year, or if it's going to be a standalone pay-per-view like it was last year. Like, it always shifts, but I'm excited. I hope that if we do get Dijak versus Eddie round 2 at Halloween Havoc, let's add weapons. Like, dudes, listen, I'm here for wrestling and I want people to be safe,
Yeah.
but I'm also a violent person. Like,
Yes.
I love watching street fights.
This is one of those that I would love to see. I'd like to see them in an extreme match. Like, fine, Eddie, you want it? Here you go. Here's your chance. Take it. And I just, what I'm really hoping for is, I don't, because, like I said, not all, I don't believe that people are not redeemable. I think Dijak's character could be redeemed in some way. And I would love for these two men to just, for a while, just have this hate relationship where
Mhm.
Dijak just wants to destroy him, and no matter what Eddie does, even when he wins, he loses, and it's like, until there's some kind of something that happens. Because, you don't want Eddie to, like, and I was thinking, add weapons. Yeah, let's do that. But I think that if Eddie got to that point, then basically, what's the purpose of his character then? Because he's always been the sort of the shaman, basically.
Hmm.
And once he crosses that line, he can't come back from it. So it's like, ooh, is he gonna go the way of like Dijak and the others, or is he gonna stick to his guns and be who he is? To thine own self, be true, basically.
Hmm.
So I'm excited to see. I can't wait. And you're right. This is like one of the best storylines ever. I mean, just it has me so invested in it.
Seriously. And again, I think that this chapter was a lot of fun, and it's still in contention as my favorite story in wrestling right now in 2023. And I'm excited to see where this goes. So then from this match, then we get into Danny Palmer taking on Thea Hale. So listen, this is the moment where as soon as Thea came out, I gave the gay finger wave because
Oh yeah.
that outfit, I was just like,
I
I
was
need a
like, ooh.
moment.
I was like, look at you, girl, with
I was like,
your.
step on me, what?
Mm-hmm.
That
Yeah.
was, oh my gosh, leather, and then she had like the chaps belt
Yeah.
buckles on the legs.
And it looked
I
like
was just like,
garters, the leather
yes.
straps that looked like garters. And it was just like, oh, wow, look at you. I even love that her hair is almost like a gray color. It's not even the blonde anymore. It's literally that sort of gray, dingy color with that single black stripe in it. And I'm just like, wow, look at you.
So good. Now, this starts off amazingly. So the Chase U theme plays, and JC's out there, like, and then she's just like, looks around, she's like, mm-mm. And she's like, turn that off. And then she smiles because then Thea's new theme hits, and I was like,
Uh huh.
yes.
Yeah. I was like, yay.
Literally, I love like the burning through the paper kind
Mm-hmm.
of effect. The fire with Thea's hail is like she's breaking away from Chase U. I was like, yes, I love it.
Yep.
So okay, so I figured that Theo was gonna win, but Danny, let's talk about Danny real quick. I'm like, Danny, you impressed the hell out of me in this match. Like,
Yeah.
girl, you're flexible. You have some great moves. It was actually I was like, "Ooh, Danny, I'm excited to see what you do in this women's tournament starting next week." Which this was where the commentators told us that the NXT Breakout Women's Tournament starts next week. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
"Yes, give me women's matches every single week."
Yes.
And then
Especially
of
if they're like
course,
this.
yes, of course, Thea Hale wins because she traps Danny in the Kimura lock, and
Mm-hmm.
so she ends up tapping out. Thea gets the win. Okay, let's talk. Cameraman, this is where you guys shined in this part. So Thea and JC are celebrating in the ring, and then Andre Chase and Duke Hudson are in the like bird's eye view at the top of the thing, and then Thea hugs JC, and then the camera person that is right behind Andre Chase and Duke Hudson zooms in, and we just see Thea hugging. We see JC hugging Thea, and then she's looking directly at Andre Chase and Duke Hudson, and just does like the evil "she's mine now" wave, and then the
Uh-huh.
"she's mine now" blows them a kiss. I
Oh
was
my
like,
God.
"Oh my gosh!" I was like, "Girl, yes,
So now I want them to be a tag team. Even
yes."
more now. I was like, after this fight, I was like, okay, they need to be a tag team. They need to be a tag team. God, please put them in a tag team match because, good Lord, I love them both. And I love this is another one. This is another story arc that I am absolutely in love with. This whole shifting, Thea shifting from her goody goody sort of that pureness to this sort of corrupted youth type thing, and I'm loving it. I absolutely love
I love it. It's like overthrow the patriarchy.
it. Exactly. Overthrow chase you. Get rid. Yeah. Oh my god. How? Oh my god. I love it. I just love it. I love the whole thing.
It was a thing of beauty. And
Mm-hmm.
again, camera people, y'all did your job during this segment because the zoom into JC being be like, she mommy dearest, she's mine
Oh, it was
now.
great. Oh, it was such a good. Yeah, it was such a great camera moment. So good job, guys.
As a side note, I feel like just get to give insight to the viewers out there. I feel like the more I hang around you and both Johns, who are my other theater peoples, and Andrew, who also is a theater person, I feel like by osmosis I'm learning more. I was just like, "Oh, I didn't think of that way." I was like, "Oh, this is neat. Is this what this is? I'm learning, you guys." I loved it. And I was just like, "You know what? I feel like I'm starting to pick up on what they're seeing half the time, and I'm kind of enjoying the fact that I'm learning through osmosis." Somebody who I wish learned through osmosis, Trick. This is where my heart broke for you, man. So Trick is all excited because Carmelo is in the locker room and he's on his phone doing whatever. And Trick comes in all excited. He's talking to a brick wall essentially because Melo's not really paying attention.
Mm-mm.
But Trick is all excited. He's telling Melo, he's like, "Yo, man, I went to Shawn Michaels and I'm actually getting things running. I'm about to have this match." And then he's like, "Yo, bro, are you listening?" He's like, "Oh," he's like, Mello then is responding, "Oh yeah, man, like I'm listening." And then Trick continues on, and then he calls out Mello again. It's like, "Dude, what is going on?" It's like, "Listen, man, I got this contract signing. I gotta take care of the things. It's like it's about to get crazy. I'm kind of busy." And then Trick like tells Mello, "It's like, yeah, I got some business I need to handle too." And then leaves. I was like, "Trick, no." I was like, "My boy, no." I was like, "Damn, Mello." And at this part, this is where Will messages me and he's just like, "Carmelo was very dismissive." And my response to him was rude in
Yeah,
all caps.
and he was. I was like, I'm like, Trick, come on. Do you not see? I mean, it's like
Baby boy.
he does not care about you. He only cares about himself. He only cares about his own title. He only cares about that's it. He didn't care about you. That's why he was like yeah, because he came in there and he was all like happy. I mean, he was so excited. He just won his match. He's like, now I'm going to be a contender and blah. And I was just like, oh, look at these. Oh, I'm so happy. I was so excited for Trick. And then Carmelo just shits on him. And I'm just like, I was like, I hate you so much. I was like, Trick, no, you don't deserve Trick. You don't deserve his friendship. You don't deserve his, I mean, not even his friendship. The man like idolizes him. And I'm just like, you don't deserve it. You don't deserve it.
I know. I'm like, "Carmelo, what are we doing?"
Does not deserve it. I mean, you know what I want to see is I want to see Trick and I want to see Trick dethrone him so bad.
Oh, that would be so good.
Absolutely. I want to see Trick go on to win this title that he's going for. And then when he does that, I want to see him go after. I want Carmella to retain his, and then I want him to dethrone him so bad. I just so bad.
We'll talk about that when we talk about predictions because I have a messy storyline that I'm kind of here for,
Yeah.
and we'll get into it. But I was so upset with Mello. I'm like, "Mello, usually I kind of like you, bro, but at this moment, it's like, how dare you do this to my boy Trick?" I'm like, "Rude,
Mm-hmm.
sir.
Yep.
That was rude."
Very.
So,
Very.
speaking of other things that were rude, we literally go to the backstage as they're trying to interview Baron as he's leaving, and then Braun comes out of nowhere and they continue to fight. Braun just literally is listen, Braun is jumping Baron left and right this whole entire night. And I'm I'm like, it's kind of refreshing to see that. So Baron's like, "Bro, I'm trying to leave. Like, I'm out of here." Like, Braun is and then Braun comes in and they start fighting again, where security tries to pull them apart. And then we cut to commercial. I was just like, that happened.
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. And I was honestly, I was like, it's not over yet.
I was like, no, and we'll literally talk about like what happens at the
Mm-hmm.
end. So after this is my opinion, but next is probably my match of the night, the Fatal 4-Way to determine who is the NXT North American,
Yeah, this one was good.
number one contender for the NXT North American Championship between Dragon Lee, Axiom, Tyler Bate, and Trick Williams. This was my match of the night. Personally, this match ruled. This was nonstop 10 minutes. They didn't take the foot off the gas. Oof.
Hmm.
Where do I even start?
Yeah, it's like So much was happening in this match. Like, so much was happening.
So chaotic.
And I mean, they were in and out and in and out. And I mean, there were so many wonderful,
There
wonderful
were
moves.
so many from all of them, like the Spanish Fly from Axiom, Tyler Bates' multiple attempts for the Strong Boy, Dragon Lee catching Tyler Bate and like giving him a stunner. Trick
Mm-hmm.
Williams like double power bombing
That
Dragon Lee and Tyler Bate into the floor
that
and
was so good.
went for the double pin attempt.
That was
Baby.
probably my favorite move of the night. Was that one? And because it was just literally, it was just like, whoop, bam, and I was like, oh my god. I was like, that was incredible. There was only one other one that I really liked, and I think it was in this match. I hope maybe I might be remembering. It's the one where he comes in and punches the guy as he's coming down.
Oh, that was, oh my gosh, that was, yeah. I was just like,
Okay, that was this one. Okay, I was
yes,
like, that was this match, right? Oh, who was that? That was
actually, yeah, this would have been this match because technically this was the last match we got for the
yeah.
night.
Who was it that did that? I know I made a note here somewhere. I was like, oh my god, that thing.
That thing that happened. Oh, there was so many stuff like
There was.
towards the beginning of the match, Axiom like Russian leg sweep to Dragon Lee.
Mm-hmm.
Tyler Bate with like the pop up power bomb.
Oh, it was Williams did a pop up haymaker.
Oh, that was a beautiful thing.
That was like, oh damn, it made me hurt. It was right after Bates did his bop and bang. Because he did that, and then immediately Trick did
The
the
pop up
pop up
haymaker.
haymaker, and I was just like, oh.
There were so many moments that we would be here all night, like
Oh my
breaking down
god,
this match. This was so
so
good.
much.
I wanted this ending though was nuts. So okay, so Dragon Lee gets
Okay, before you
Axiom.
get into it, though, I want to
Yeah,
say this one thing about the ending.
go for
I
it.
don't know how I feel about it.
Me, we'll talk about it
Yeah,
too
okay,
because I
good.
was just
Because I
like,
was just like,
ooh.
okay, go ahead, continue, do your thing, and then we'll talk
So
about
in the
it.
finisher, so Dragon Lee has Axiom ready to be pinned, and then Trick comes in and he grabs Dragon Lee and pulls him up. Dragon Lee then goes for a headbutt, and it sounded gnarly. They hit the
It
right part
did.
of the chest. I was like, I was just like, and then Trick is like going in and out of it, and he bumps Tyler Bate off of the
In his head. You like
apron.
they head butted.
Yeah, they hit heads, and then Trick bounced off the rope and just toppled over on Axiom, which allowed
One, two,
him to
three.
get the 3 count. I was like, oh, I was just like, see, if I wanted, I'm happy that Trick won, but I was just like, I smell somebody coming in with the you won with an asterisk because
Yes.
I was like, are we gonna
Yes.
get asterisk turn? Listen, I was
Uh,
just like,
I think it's Carmelo too. I bet you anything it'll be Carmelo.
and this is where we get into my messy predictions because I
Mm-hmm.
have a messy storyline I would love to see happen.
Oh
And
my
we'll talk
god.
about it when we talk about our predictions for
Yeah.
No Mercy.
I just did not know how I felt about that ending. I was just like Trick won, but I mean, did he? I mean, it's like, and I hate that. I hate that for him. I know, and I don't like. I hate that they set it up like that. Really, I mean, because my thing. I mean, unless they have other plans, which that's fine. But I really wanted Trick to win that on his own. Like I wanted him to win that. Like
Oh,
you know,
absolutely.
and it felt so. To me, it felt like an empty victory. Now I know Trick was excited about it, and I'm excited for him because he's excited for it. But it just felt so empty to me, anyway. It just felt so empty, and I felt so bad for him, even though he was totally fine with it. But I was just like, dude. And then you're right. I think someone's gonna walk in and be like, oh yeah, great win. You know, if it hadn't been for this, that, and the other.
Oh, for sure.
Oh.
I can't wait to discuss it because I have such a messy idea I would love to see NXT
I would
do.
look
So
forward to it.
again, Shawn Michaels, if you watch this review, you can take our ideas. Just make sure you cut the residual
I know,
checks.
right? We'll take those residuals.
But yeah, this was my match of the night. Like
It was
the
mine too.
story. Now, for wrestling wise, this was my match of the night. Story wise,
Yeah.
the strap match was that my
Yeah,
match. But
Eddie and
storytelling. So after this match is over, we cut to backstage again, where the makeup person put makeup on Dominic's black eye because it was like it wasn't as prominent as it was here.
no.
And then and I was like, "Really, Dominic? This is where you're going to acknowledge the black eye? Sure, okay." So Dominic cuts a promo and he tries his best, but he doesn't do a good job of like running down Trick in a promo saying he's gonna whoop him. I was just like, Dominic, I've seen you cut better promos than this. This was okay. This was not it. And then Dragon Lee comes out because he's all pissed off. He's like, I'm gonna beat your ass. And then he literally like throws Dom to the ground and is about to beat him up when the refs come in. I have so many questions though, because you know what? I'll just throw this into it because it's kind of related. The commentary tells us before we get to the final scene of tonight that Dragon Lee's going to be guest refereeing the match. I was just like, I don't know how I feel about this.
Me either, actually, because I'm just like, see, to me, when they said that, I was like, don't recycle ideas. Don't, because now it's like, now he's going to referee a
Yeah, first you
Dom's
had
fight.
Dominic, and
And I'm
it's
just
just
like,
like,
don't do that. Don't, all right, whatever. But yeah, I was when Dominic was talking, I was like, yeah, I was like, yeah, I noticed that the eye was not as bad, and he's just like, I run this place, this, that, the other, and then Dragon Lee comes in. I was like, oh well, there's another shiner for you. I was like, I would love it.
round two, bam.
I would love if next time we saw him, he had two black eyes. I would laugh so hard,
I would be
so
like,
hard.
oh my God.
Oh my God. Ah, ah.
I know. But that match was ruled. And then, Dominic, you could cut better than promos of this, but it was fine.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we get into the final part of this family dinner. So Out of the Mud ends up coming in, and then things get crazy. Out of the Mud, I was like, bro, I loved it because they were trying to make threats, and then Tony D'Angelo's like, oh no, check this out. And then he literally gets the goon squad to come out.
Yeah.
I was just like the rest of the family. And I love that Lucian Pierce is like, dang, Scribs, I didn't know you told us that D'Angelo ran like that. I was just like, he got the goon squad out. And again, they're all trying to make cases of why they should be the ones to face Tony. And then poor Brutus over here is just like, bro, this food is really great.
It's so funny. Oh my God. He was so singular minded. It was hilarious.
I was just like, listen, Fat Boy Syndrome is for real. And
Yeah.
Brutus is like, I love him for it. I was just like,
Yeah.
I was like, there's a lot of drama, but you know what? This food is also really great.
Exactly.
And then, Tony and Stacks literally tell us what's about to happen. So he's just like, then they said it. I was like, you're right. This is the first pay-per-view title defense for you guys since you won the titles at Great American Bash. You have defended them on TV, but this is your first defense on a pay-per-view. And then there's like, I like what Tony said. It's like, we want to prove that we are the real deal, and we're going to. So we decided it's going to be a fatal four-way between the family, Los Lotharios, the Creeds, and Out of the Mud for these tag titles at No Mercy. I'm like, yes.
Yep. I was like, oh,
Listen,
okay. All right.
honestly,
I'm here for this.
I just want the Creeds and Out of the Mud, the big boys, to just throw each other around the ring so much. I was like, I want big boy power moves. I want my luchador action from Los Lotharios. The family out here is. I'm excited for this match. I was like, it's going to be chaotic, but I'm here for the chaos. Of course,
Indeed.
we'll talk about predictions because it's like, I think it's a foregone conclusion, but we'll talk about it when we get there. This family dinner segment was so hokey. I loved it so much.
Then they were like, all your favorite, we provided you all your favorite beverages.
Drinks.
Let's raise a
To
toast.
celebrate.
And they're all like, okay. And then the Creed brothers are drinking milk.
I was like, because they're not 21 yet. And I love
all,
that.
makes me laugh so hard. You know, and
I'm gonna
it just
yeah.
because just who they are. It was just like, oh my god, that just makes so much sense. And I that's when I sent you the text message like milk.
I loved it so much. Now, what would have made this segment better is like when Out of the Mud was stepping to all the tag teams. I wish that Ivy Nile was there and she put them in the and she would put them in their place. I'm like, listen, Ivy will kill everybody at the table. I was just like, the
Yep.
Creeds have their own backup, and it is a tiny petite woman named Ivy Niles.
Yep.
She will kill you with
It
one arm.
will fuck you up.
I
Like,
love Ivy. Exactly. I was like, Ivy Nile will mess you up.
I like her too.
Okay. So then we get this small little segment of somebody who turns on a television and is watching like an old sports game, and then WCW, and I screamed because I'm like, I know who this is. Because I'm a wrestling nerd, so I follow all the wrestling. So this is a teaser for Brian Pillman Jr. So Brian Pillman's son, who was in AEW, whose contract is now expired, has come to WWE, and I'm excited for him to debut whenever he does an NXT. I'm like, yes. I was
So
like,
is
we
he
got a
coming to
legacy.
NXT? I guess.
Yeah, he's coming to NXT. I was like, we
Very
got a
cool.
legacy child.
Very cool. Very cool.
And it was short, sweet, to the point. Then we didn't get bumpers for next week. They're just like, here are the bumpers you need to know for No Mercy. So we literally get a rundown of all the matches that are happening at No Mercy. And then we just jump into this contract signing, which I gotta say, Will, this one was rough on the mic for both of them. I was like,
It
this
was.
was not a strong promo from either one. And
No.
I agree with you. What you sent me is like, first of all, don't do promo at a table, sitting.
No, sitting at a table. I was like, this is in theater, one of the worst things you can do is put actors around a table and have them act. It's horrible. It's boring, and it's just actors don't know what to do with themselves. So you had these two sitting in these damn chairs, and like Carmelo was all leaning back, and then you have Ilya just sort of trying to like sit there all proper, and it was just like, what is happening? I was just like, I just couldn't. I was just like, what is it I sent you? I was like, this is boring. It's so boring.
I was just like, I know y'all can cut. I'm like, Mello, Ilya, I know you could cut better promos as this. This was rough. It still served its purpose, but it was rough. And then it didn't help that Mello was struggling to unclip the belt when he was raising it at the end. I was like, oh, Mello, baby.
And then Ilya had a problem getting the damn pin out of the thing and then back into the thing. Why? Just throw it in the middle, close it, and throw it down and go sign the fucking thing. I was just like, it was like for instance, the Carmella's last contract signing. It was really good. It was so good. And then this happened, and I've actually been excited for this matchup. And then this contract signing for the both of them was just subpar. It was like even Ilya wasn't like, I don't know. I don't know if they told them to tone it down or they told them, I don't know what they told them to do, but man, it did not work. It did not work. You're right. There was and I wonder if because this felt very last minute. It's like, let's just do this real quick. Y'all get up there, you do your thing. And because you're right. The trying to get the belt unhooked, trying to get the pin out of the thing. See, that's what rehearsals are for. And this felt like completely unrehearsed and like they were almost like they were reading off of freaking cue cards. All of the dialogue they had was so just like,
it was so like not natural.
No.
It was like very manufactured. And I was like, I know y'all study before you come out here. I was like, but it was very forced. And it was rough. It was a little rough to watch. Now, granted, it's not the worst thing that I have seen, but I was like, I know you two can cut better promos than this. I'm still excited for the match, but if you're trying to get the casual person to come watch No Mercy on Saturday, like this promo didn't sell you on that.
No.
And this is, I say it could be the main event, but honestly, I'm hoping the women's match is the main event because it should be the main event, but you never know because, again, all the promotions are weird when it comes to booking to their women. But we get this signing. I'm still excited for the match, but I know they can do better. And then literally the last like couple minutes of NXT is again Braun Breaker and Baron Corbin fighting all over the place. And this is where I have an issue because the contractor in the NXT Performance Center should be fired. Because I'm like, that is not Shawn Michaels' office. Let's be honest. I was like, that is drywall. That wasn't even drywall. That was like
That
styrofoam.
was
And they
literally
what
like a theatrical set. It was
yes. Literally, I was just like, all right, you got some college kids to like I laughed so hard because they go through the wall and Shawn Michaels calls for security and they open the door. I was like, really, you guys? I was like, this is what we're doing.
yeah.
Shawn
And
Michaels, oh my gosh, this is silly, but
the whole thing was fun and ridiculous. But I love it when they break through the wall and we're in Shawn Michaels' office, and it's like, oh, there's the door. Everyone comes in, and what's these big ass black curtains on the right hand side? I'm like, are those backstage curtains? Because I think they are. Because like, this is not your freaking office, dude.
I was like, Shawn Michaels, I listen, I know, but I'm like, come on, you guys.
Come on,
Okay,
production
and
quality.
then we go from the office to the most dangerous place in America, not Compton, not Atlanta, not Florida, the whole entire state, but no, the NXT parking lot. The NXT parking lot. Listen, in the last couple of weeks that I have gotten Will to watch these with me, the NXT parking lot is the most dangerous place in America because literally this brawl takes a 180 where we're using a whole entire car as a weapon.
Yeah.
Like doors are being slammed. Braun Breaker picks up Baron and throws him off the roof of the car. I was just
Oh
like,
yeah.
and
Slammed him
then it
against
was
the
while
wall
I was
top.
watching this. Yeah, while I was watching this, I was just like, why is there no stipulation for No Mercy for their match? I feel like at this point it should be added in.
Yeah. I mean, it was so funny because when it all started, because it started in the parking lot first, and then it worked its way into the building. And the minute I saw, the minute I saw Corbin outside, I was like, "Oh Lord, here we go."
Like,
And I don't know
baby.
whose car that was supposed to be, but they thoroughly trashed it. And I don't know if it was supposed to be Corbin's because he opened that thing like he owned the thing. But yeah, they like slammed into the back end, onto the hood, onto the bonnet, on all of it. A couple of times into that rolling door, and then eventually Corbin like ran and went inside the building because then that's when they went in and then he threw the fire extinguisher at him, and then then that's when Von Breaker threw him to that wall, and I was like, oh my god, this is the most ridiculous thing I have ever seen in my life, and I'm here for it. I hate both of these men, but I was there for it.
I love the fact that as soon as Shawn Michaels called for security, it was literally like clown car.
Oh,
there's
it
like
was. The
there's
door
like
opened and they all came in.
50 dudes coming through his singular door. I was just like, that is nuts. And again, we go to the parking lot. They fight on, around, through the car, like door again. And this is how we end NXT with Braun Breaker literally like dragging Baron Corbin's ass all up and down this parking lot. And that's
Yep.
how we end the show this week. I was just like, damn. Okay, so before we get into our predictions, overall, I thought again this was an up and down show. I enjoyed the majority of it. I still have questions. That contract signing was probably the lowest point for me. I was like, this was a
Mhm.
rough promo to watch. It was a rough segment because everybody involved was like, and then again, like I know NXT tries to do different things differently. I was like, why was there no moderator? There should have been a moderator. And
God.
this is, and I don't want to talk. I don't want to like. I try not to talk about other promotions, but because I watch way too many weekly television shows. I just saw the Hangman Page and Swerve Strickland like contract signing, and they had a moderator. I was like, the moderator made it better, even if they don't talk. At least you have a third person out here like handling like the pens
I
and
remember
things
even
like
like
that.
Trinity and Alicia
Alicia,
Edwards. Yeah,
yeah,
they had a
Alicia, like
moderator.
yeah, they had a moderator and they also had Eddie out there. And listen,
Yeah.
that made me care about that match more than it should have. I
Yeah,
was like,
I
oh,
know.
Trinity needs to get hers at the Victory Road, and she
Yeah,
did.
and she did.
That's so good.
I agree. But yeah, this one was lame comparatively to others.
Yeah, so quickly, out of 5 empanadas, I'm gonna give this like a solid. When I say it's a 2.8, I don't think it's like inherently bad. It's just for a go home show. There's just a lot of things they did right, but there is also some weird things that like we're building to. Um, Again, the contract signing kind of really brought it down for me. I was also disappointed that Gigi and Blair didn't happen tonight after you lied to me and told me it was going to happen tonight from last week. But I'm also docking. I'm going to continue to dock points until Wes is back on my television screen because I'm like, my sad boy needs to come back and know that he's loved and he's wanted and that he can win that title. But you know what? Overall, I still thought this was pretty good.
I give it. I gave it a 2.5 and out of 5 because again, same things basically. Almost identically. I was just a little harsher on it. But yeah, the contract signing at the end it was the straw that broke the camel's back because I was like, you didn't end. Here's the thing that irritated me is that it seemed like the only way they could get a really cool ending is for the whole Corbin and Braun Breaker thing. And I'm just like, first of all, that was silly. It was entertaining, don't get me wrong, but I just don't think you should have ended the show on that. I don't, the contract signing should have been far more exciting than it was. It was
Mm-hmm.
boring. It felt like these two performers were being held back, and because I was waiting for them to just get nasty with each other, like they normally do, and they didn't. And I was like, okay. So, and then overall, it had its ups and its downs. It wasn't like I was telling Mike earlier. I was like, it wasn't the strongest episode I've seen, but it wasn't the weakest one I've seen.
Right.
Their storytelling is still great. Their continuity is still great. They know how to tell a story. They know how to keep the story going. They don't just like, oh, okay, we'll forget about it for a couple of weeks, then suddenly remember, oh wait, that storyline we were doing. No, they're pretty consistent across that sort of
Mm-hmm.
thing. So yeah, but 2.5 only because I felt that at times it felt kind of forced, like they forced things in. They changed things. Things didn't feel like they didn't feel natural at all. Like it
Mm-hmm.
felt like they were like, oh, last minute changes. And so yeah, so that would be me. 2.5, maybe 2.54, something like that. I don't know. It just wasn't bad, wasn't great. It just was.
It just happened.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So now, as it is tradition here at the Biconics, before we get into the hotness corners for this week, let's run through our predictions for No Mercy. So, No Mercy is happening this Saturday. We, at least me and Will so far, we are going to be reviewing it the following day on Sunday evening. So stay tuned for that. But we have 5 matches on the official card, which I think, I'm not going to lie, is I would like one more. But honestly, if you have 5 matches and each match gets like 15, 20 minutes, then I'm cool with it. So let's run through the card and then let's go through our predictions and then just go balls to the wall, so to speak, with like what we would like to see. So let's start with the only let's just get this match out of the way. It's the only non-championship match we have. Baron Corbin versus Braun Breaker, no stipulation. Okay, so I would like Braun to win. And while this whole entire fighting through NXT made me a little more interested, this is the match I still have that I care about the least because the build to this has been very messy.
Yeah.
Messier than having to, replace Mustafa Ali as number 1 contender. And even still, that we still had some semblance of a decent build, even if it was really quick tonight. But I'm picking Braun to win this one. But honestly, I could care less who wins.
I'm kind of the same. I really don't care. I don't give a shit about this match, to be quite honest. And if I had to pick a lesser of two evils, I would say Braun. But I don't think it will be because all of the promo or the vignettes that they've been doing leading up to this match, it's been Corbin getting his ass kicked. So I'm
Mhm.
wondering if that's going to be like if I would prefer Braun to win, but I think Corbin's going to win it. I really do. But I would again, like you said, I really don't give a shit about this match because I don't care about either of them. But if I have to do a prediction, it would be I would want Braun to win, but I think it's going to be Corbin.
Right. So that takes care of that match. Me and Will have said Braun. We're not going to hide that we don't really care about this match. Now, I would love to see, and this is just like the crazy moments that I would love to see, that either during this match or toward the end of the match, Mr. Von Wagner comes out and just whoops everybody's ass. I think would be hilarious, but we'll see what happens with that. Von Wagner coming out and putting everybody through a table would be kind of funny. All right. So now that we got that match out of the way, let's get into the good part. So let's actually start with the tag team fatal four way. So the family is defending their titles against Los Lotharios, the Creed brothers, and Out of the Mud. I think this is going to be entertaining, but I'm going to say that the family retains here. I think this is their first pay per view defense. I don't see
Right.
them losing it here, which would be weird if they did.
Yeah. It's. I'm going to agree with this caveat. I think that yes, I agree with you that I don't think they're going to lose because this is their first pay per view as the champions defending.
Mm
But there's an awful lot of comeback stories in that room.
hmm. Mm
So
hmm.
I'm just like, okay. So this one's a hard one for me because, yes, one, I want to say no, they'll retain their title because they've only had it for such a short period. But we've
Mm hmm.
seen titles get lost in shorter periods.
Right.
So what I would like to see is one, I would love to see them retain
Mm hmm.
and go against, each of these groups individually, or
Right.
either that or go against, like, say, Los Lotharios, and Los Lotharios kicks their ass, and then
Mm hmm.
suddenly then the Creed brothers are like, oh, well, you beat them, but can you beat us? And then it goes boom, 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 that sort of thing. I would like to see the belt make the rounds,
Right.
actually, and that way everybody kind of goes, yeah, look at me. I go, oh, the next thing you know, they're being taken down by someone very quickly. And that would be neat to have this sort of like tag team free for all,
Mm hmm.
and it's just sort of like, who the hell's going to have it this week? Who the hell's going to have it this week? But I would have to say I agree with you that I think that the family is going to hang on to it. I really do. I think you're right. I think it's too soon, especially for a tag team match.
Mm hmm.
I think that because there's so many tag teams, I think that one of them coming in and taking it away from them it won't. I don't think it'll work well story wise. I don't think the
Mm hmm.
story would. I think they need to retain it for at least one more round before someone takes it from them. At least. Or maybe they hang on to it for a while and each of these tag teams just keep trying to take it off of them,
Mm
which would
hmm.
also be cool. It's like, oh, look at us. We've retained this thing for, like, we're the whatever 5+ however many times we've retained it. But yeah, I'd like to see something like that. But I think you're right. I think the family will retain it at No Mercy. But I think it's going to be a great match, though.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a fun match, but all right, so the family we both say the family retains, but I like your idea of afterwards just making the rounds around all these teams, which I think would be great. Okay. So now let's get into the three championship matches that honestly I think are going to kick a lot of butt. So let's start with the NXT Heritage Cup Championship. You have Noam Dar defending his title cup against Butch. Now, see, I'm inclined to say that Noam Dar retains, but I don't
Yeah,
know, man.
I
I
don't
can see
either.
Butch winning this
I
one
did
too.
too.
And this is tough for two different reasons. I would love to see Noam Dar hold on to it because if we get more metaphor lounge shenanigans, like that'd be hilarious. But also, I think I s- I'm g- that's tough. And then,
Yeah.
but I can also see Butch holding on to it because honestly, it would be such unexpected for him to win and take it off of Noam Dar so soon.
Yeah, and and that's kind of where cause see, I'm very much like, hold on one second. Sorry, I gotta sneeze.
Bless you.
Sorry. All right. So, yeah, I agree with you. I think, but all of this, see, this is my thing. I want to say, yes, I think Noam Dar would retain, but I mean, but then all of this that we've done would have been for nothing.
True.
And so, and I think I think Butch is going to take it from it.
Ooh.
And then I think we're going to create a really cool rivalry because I love Noam Dar. I think he and Metaphor are fantastic. They're like right up there with like Joya, or
May they,
yeah,
but you know what? We'll see what happens tomorrow at the celebration.
yeah,
I hope it's a swerve.
yeah. Um, but I want to say I would like to say that Noam will retain, but I think Butch is going to walk away. I really do because I just don't. I mean, unless they just do something so outrageous that causes like Metaphor does something to cause Butch to lose. Now that would I'd be like, okay, that they cheated to keep it, and then that creates this like new rivalry with like Butch and Noam Dar,
Mm-hmm.
and I would pay money to see that because Butch is scary. I mean, he's scary, and I love him. And Noam is so sort of, I mean, he's good, but he's so silly, It's just, even when he's in the ring, he's sort of like, he's like squirrely.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like, this one's a hard one, but I'm going to predict that Butch is going to take it because I can't imagine this was all for nothing.
Just,
I really can't.
going into this, I initially was like, oh yeah, Noam Dar. But then, I don't know, Will, you kind of persuaded me a little bit. I think I'm going to go with Butch too cuz in my head it does make a lot of sense because you had Butch go through all of this to win this tournament to face Noam Dar
Yeah.
and then it would kind of be like, okay, he loses, goes back to main roster. What?
Yeah. And that's when I'm just like,
This
I
one's
just can't.
tough
Yeah. It
because
is.
I could see either way, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna stick to my guns, and I'm gonna say that Butch becomes your new
Yeah.
Heritage Cup champion. But
Yeah.
this one's gonna be tough. It can go either way.
Right. I agree with you. But I mean, again, Noam could cheat like he did that one time, but you know, I honestly believe I cannot believe that they would put Butch through all of that shit to not reward him with something. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
just can't imagine it. And I think it'll be a great fight too. That's what's so wonderful about it because those two styles,
Mm-hmm.
will be fantastic together. I think
Yep.
so.
I
Yeah.
totally agree. Okay.
All righty.
So I said at the beginning of these predictions, I said 5, and then when I thought about it and went through back, I was like, oh no, there's 6 because change this on this episode of NXT for the North American NXT North American Championship. Dominic Mysterio will be defending his title against Trick Williams, and Dragon Lee is the special guest referee. So I, regardless if it was Trick in this position or if Mustafa was still here, I still think that Dominic is losing this title,
Yeah,
and I'm gonna say Trick, I think, wins the North American
I agree.
Championship. And okay, so this is where I get into my messy booking, but I will talk about it Will, who do you got between Dominic and Trick?
Oh, I have Trick, absolutely, because I think and it's because Dragon Lee is going to be refereeing,
True.
and I think he's going to do whatever he can to fuck with Dominic because we've seen him backstage like popping him in his face, and I mean he doesn't. There is no blood loss between the two of them. I mean there is none,
No,
no
yeah,
blood
because
loss at
Dominic
all.
has been disrespectful and
Hmm.
hella rude to
Oh
Dragon Lee,
yeah,
so I would not be surprised. Okay, so that's a foregone conclusion.
yeah,
Okay, so this is where I get into my messiness, right?
I love it.
So Trick
Lay it on me.
Williams definitely wins this title. And then this kind of makes my prediction for Carmelo versus Ilya because I still think, regardless if Shawn Michaels wants to go this direction, because I have Ilya taking that title off of Carmelo here at No Mercy. I think Melo loses his title here. And this goes into my messiness. So Trick wins, so Carmelo loses. Melo gets jealous of the fact that Trick is now a
Ooh,
champion and
he's
he's kind of
not.
in the spotlight now.
Oh, that's a good one. I
And
like it.
Melo gets jealous. It's like, oh hell no. So I'm gonna try to take this title off you so that way I can be relevant again. And
Oh,
this is where we see the evolution of Trick. It's like, hold up, man. I was just like, I supported you. I was never jealous. And now that I had this title and you lost yours and now you
you're trying to
wanna
take
like
mine.
yeah, I was like, and so Mello gets jealous and he gets spiteful and he does what he can to take that title off of Trick so that way Mello can be back in the spotlight.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And the funny thing is I don't think that's messy at all. I think that's a legitimate thing. I mean, because of the where Carmelo's going, character wise, that makes total sense. Makes absolute sense because Carmelo is drunk on power.
Mhm.
I mean, it is like absolute power corrupts absolutely, and we see it in him. We see it because he's turning his back on his friends. He's paranoid. He's constantly, like I mean, and I agree with you. My prediction for and I don't know if we're ready to do it, but my prediction for Carmelo and Ilya is I think Ilya is going to win. I
Okay,
do.
then
I I
let
honestly believe that.
let's talk about that. So yeah, let's talk about it. So regardless of what the story is like afterwards, I honestly think I think this is the time for Ilya to take that title. So
Yeah.
and what I'm
I
hoping is with Ilya taking the title off of Mello, I think Ilya should have like a short feud with somebody.
hmm
And if we don't, again, we don't know what's happening at No Mercy, but what I would love to see, in my personal opinion, is that Ilya wins. He's holding that title, and whose music should kick in, but Wes, and we have Wes.
Yeah.
Listen, now I don't know if Shawn Michaels wants to pull the trigger on this feud like immediately, but I think Wes should be the one to take it off Ilya
Ilya. Yeah,
whenever. Give
I agree.
Ilya a title run for a little bit, but I think Wes should be the next one to take that
I
title.
I agree with that. Absolutely. Once West finds himself.
I was like, my poor baby, no.
I know. But I
Again,
agree
that
with
was
you.
I think I'm gonna pick Ilya to win.
Me too.
I think it's time for him to take that title off of Mello.
Carmelo needs it. He needs to be knocked down. It's time for because he's gotten a little too high and mighty, and I think it's
Mm-hmm.
time. Literally, I think it's time for someone to knock him off his little high horse there and be like, "Oh, wait, maybe I'm not as badass as I thought I was." I'm like, "No, you're not.
And
You,
I
you
will say this match is gonna be an absolute banger.
yeah, it
Like
is.
if they give me what they gave at Great American Bash of how awesome that match was, listen, I am here for it. But yes, so my pick is Trick to win
Mm-hmm.
the and become new NXT North American champion, and then I pick Ilya to win and become new NXT champion.
That's my
And now we get to what I'm hoping is the main event for No Mercy. Becky Lynch defends her NXT Women's Championship against Miss Barbie Queen herself, Tiffany Stratton. So I am for sure. I think Becky's retaining the title here. But listen, all I want to see from this match, I want to see how creative and violent they can be. That's what
well.
I care about.
Yeah, me too. Well, I mean, after after Barbie Quinn slapped Becky with that chair, I'm like, oh, girl, what'd you do? You stirred up a hornet's nest. And I'm like, she's coming for your ass. I mean, I'm just like, Becky is going to be like, the ass whooping's coming.
I
I,
hope again WWE their hardcore matches like because it's a PG product, you can't really bleed. But again, chairs, tables, kendo sticks, like do no
yeah.
extreme rules. Like I'm excited for this match for two different things. I think this match is gonna rule, but more importantly, from just the behind the scenes kind of stuff with it, I'm really excited for this match because this is putting Tiffany in such a big spotlight, working with again probably one of the biggest women wrestlers that WWE across all three of their brands has right now, and Tiffany gets an opportunity to go one on one with her in such an extreme match like this. I was just like, Tiffany is getting the spotlight, and I love it for Tiffany.
Yeah,
It's
me
so
too.
good. I
Me
love
too.
it, but I think Becky's retaining here,
I do
and
too.
I hope this is the main event, and I hope they like decimate each other again. Violence is
Yeah,
great.
I hope this is the main event too. Even though the
It's tough.
Carmelo and Ilya match could be
One of
like
these two matches
off
is
the
main
hook.
eventing.
Yeah,
I would love for it
I
to
hope
be
it's
the
Becky
women's
and I
match.
hope it. Me
Yep.
too. I hope it's the two of them because yeah, yeah, they should end it up with an extreme match. I think that'd be a good way to end the pay per view was an extreme match.
Oh, for sure.
That'd be great. Yeah, but
Uh,
yeah, I agree with you. I think Becky's going to retain that title.
oh, absolutely. And that's our predictions for No Mercy. So, as I said at the beginning, me and Will will be watching No Mercy pay per view, either together or separately. We still haven't figured that out yet. And then we will be getting together on Sunday to review the actual pay per view. And one of my hopes for it is that because at the NXT pay per views they usually announce when the next one is, so I'm hoping to see which announcement we get for the next pay per view and when it is, so I can already look forward to more of these. But before we go, Will, we got to do the hotness corner for the
Yes.
week. So each week, me and Will pick our favorite men and women's wrestler who has defined and fit the category of hotness. And it could be anything simply from physical hotness to just their athletic ability to character development. There's just a lot of things we find hot about a lot of these wrestlers. So, Will, who are your men and women hotness picks for
All
this week?
right. So my women's pick tonight is Miss Thea. This is because, and the reason being is because this whole, if I could actually, you know what, I'm going to put her and JC together, and it's because this story that they've been creating over the last month or so has just been super fun. And it's been great to watch these characters sort of grow and evolve, and especially seeing Thea's new look and how JC is very much like, she's, I did this, I created this, which I really kind of like. Excuse me, for JC as well, because she's not in anyone's shadow. It's like I'm out here doing this for myself and Thea, and I want to get her into a better play. It has a really good feeling to it, and I love it. And I really, really hope that this continues. So I'm going to say Thea and JC as a team there. Now, men is a little harder because if I had to pick it on skill, well, yeah, if I had to pick it on skill alone, then I would go. Well, not skill alone, but if I had to pick it on like who out of the men, I would say Eddie Thorpe. And again, it's because of story, because that story is just brilliant, and he's just beautiful. And so it would be a toss up. If I was just going to go on like hotness, like what I like, then it would probably be Joe Coffey because hello, he's a big, thick, hairy boy, and I'm like, I like the big, thick, hairy boys. And but my hotness, I'd probably go ahead and go with Eddie Thorpe because I love the story. I love how he took that beating like at the beginning, and then he turned it around, and he got a win on his own. There was no help. There was no, he did that himself. And so I'm here for that. And he's also really nice to look at. So yeah, those are my picks.
I feel like we're the same person, just divided into two different bodies because I have the exact same picks as you. So my women is the team of Thea and JC. I lean more towards JC only because of the devilish like grin and smile and blowing the kiss afterwards. I was like, ooh, girl, yes, I am here for it. And then, of course, again, storytelling wise, Eddie is my pick. Listen, Eddie is a great man to look at. Like, let's not get it twisted.
That's true.
Also, I'm not gonna lie, Dijak too. I want you to. I hope you're okay, but also both of them. I was just like, yes, hi, how we do.
Fair enough.
I'm not gonna lie, all the men's tonight could get it, honestly, and so can the women for me.
Yeah, true. I mean, yeah, they all could have. I mean,
more specifically, JC, I need you to take me on a shopping spree, girl. Like
seriously.
we need to go. I want a makeover.
Yeah, and I want Joe Coffey to take me to the Highlands.
In more ways than one. Hey,
indeed.
Yo.
I want to, reenact Outlander with him.
Be like, there can only be one.
That's me, bitch.
But and then for the men, Eddie Thorpe, that match was awesome. Eddie's great to look at, but storytelling wise, I was just like, as the writer in me is super happy with how we're doing this. And I'm excited to see what the next chapter of that feud goes into. Because I was like, listen, we have a strap match. Now we need some sort of like extra level of violence to come in next.
Yes.
I was like, we got to figure this out, but I'm excited.
And I love that they used his family as a prop. I love that.
It like added to it. It was so good.
It did. It really did. It was like, oh, wow, that's his real family. I was like,
the niece might be scarred for a little bit, but
yeah, I was like, yeah, she's probably never gonna be the same. Like, why did they do that? Oh God.
I imagine in my head the conversations that have to happen after matches like that happen. It's just like, okay, I just want you to know, like, we don't really hate each other,
right?
Like, this is Uncle Dijak. He's actually really cool.
Nice guy.
He's a nice guy. He's really cool.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
But yeah, unfortunately, that does bring us to the end of Los Chicos Gordos for this week. It makes me a little sad, but fret not, because we will be back on Sunday for the NXT No Mercy pay-per-view review. And you can also catch me and Will this upcoming Saturday when the video gets released. It's Friday that we record. But you get to see me, Will, as well as our other co-host, Andrew, in review Impact Wrestling as we are slowly building towards Bound for Glory. But if you like this review, that review, or basically any review, you could check all those out here on the Biconics YouTube wrestling channel. God, we have so many names for this. We pretty much cover all the weekly television shows, and we review all of the pay-per-views. And we also upload some special content. Like I dropped my impressions videos of when I went to the WWE Super Show, as well as, we dropped our most unhinged episode of the podcast. So you should probably check that out. You can also follow us all over the social medias across Facebook, Instagram, X, Threads, TikTok, all at BC WrestlePod. And of course, you could check us out at the Biconics Wrestling Podcast, where all podcasts can be found to hear more unhingedness when it comes to this group of 9 boys. Yes, there is 9 of us. There's a lot of meat in this faction here. And let me tell you, it's going to be great because you're going to see a whole bunch of us the next coming weeks. It's going to be great. But until the next Los Chicos Gordos review, as well as any other review, I am Mikey, joined by my co-host Will, who I love getting to do NXT reviews with. And until the next one, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, and from all of us here at the Biconics, remember, be true to you, stay iconic. We'll see you later.